Um, Hi, welcome. Those of you who are watching this on the recording that might be available after uh, Wednesday evening. Um, I'm going to hope that this works. So I'll have to do it kind of slowly here, but bear with me, please. This should really help you. This should really help review for the final exam. So what we're going to do first is start with some new information. We have to go backwards just a bit. So here's some housekeeping important information that you do need to be aware of. The final exams are not graded right away. And basically what that means for you is when you see your final exam score, it's going to give you a number that's really only out of 20, but it's going to look like it is out of 180. So please don't worry when you see that you have a 20 out of 180. That isn't everything. That's just for the multiple choice and true false. I will go over the rest of the structure for the final exam here in just a minute. If you are missing work, so if you're doing something and you are missing it, it must be received by Thursday at midnight to receive credit. Now, the reason for that is, yes, the class does go until Saturday. However, what you need to be aware of is that I have to have time to grade it. If I can't grade it, then it might as well have not existed. So if you can't get it in by Thursday, then I don't have time to grade it before grades are due. So please make sure that you're getting your late work in so that it can be graded. This session here is going to clear out Wednesday, but I'm attempting to do, you can't see this, but I'm attempting to do 2 recordings at once so that I can put one of them up in the classroom after midnight on Wednesday so that you at least have something to look at. And then, of course, in case you were not aware, we just have so many changes going on. And one of the big ones is to your student portal and the way that you are going to be accessing the course. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go here to YouTube. I'm going to give you a quick screen share here, and hopefully it works over here as well. Come on, there we go.
Welcome to our overview of the student portal for Campus View. The purpose of this brief video is going to be to walk you through some of the information about our new student information portal so that you as a student can become more effective and more efficient at finding information and be able to drive some of that information a little bit more effectively for yourself. You'll notice that right now I am already logged in with credentials that were created. You've already received information about how to log in, and hopefully you have been successful at creating your credentials and logging yourself in. This is a similar dashboard to what you will see when you log into your sessions. The dashboard will be a little bit different. It'll have probably some different colors, maybe a couple of different pictures, and some of this information will change based on the campus that you are connected to. Right now, I am logged in as a student in the Salt Lake campus, and I'm looking at a picture of the Salt Lake campus right there. We're going to walk through the links that are connected on here by first talking about the ones that run across the top and then those that run along the left-hand side. The documents or the links that show up on the left-hand side in some cases duplicate documents that we have across here. The My Homepage will take us back to this homepage no matter where we've gone in the system. It's a nice way to refresh yourself and bring yourself back to the dashboard. The Personalize option allows you to select from different widgets that might be available. Notice right now I've got Google showing up as an extra widget that's showing up on my homepage. Very similar for those of you who may have used Google homepages or iPages in the past, iGoogle in the past. It's very similar kind of a setup. You can select things that you would like, and maybe I don't want to have Google anymore. Maybe I want to have ESPN's top stories, and then I get an opportunity when I save those changes to see that information up there. This is completely yours to control. You can decide if you want to show extra information. Maybe you want to show my weather and also see CNN's top stories. And then you'll notice that we see those showing up along the side. I can also move them from side to side and place them in different locations and have my environment rearrange itself just slightly. Once I've gone through all of that, if I wanted to go back to my home page, I certainly can. I'm going to go ahead and back to the personalizing center, and I'm going to just delete all of those and put it back to what I would normally see. Notice I've got my advisors. I've also got some information at a glance, my account balance, my schedule, my profile, and financial aid. Again, these are links that will show up over here as well. We'll go through those all in time. The Canvas Classroom link allows us to have a link that takes us directly to Canvas, where we will do all of our online classes now. This is where you would be able to go to take care of doing any work that you needed to do for your online classes, take any tests, logging into the Canvas Classroom. Here's the link that you can use for that. The degree audit is one of the new pieces that comes as a result of having Campus View and our student portal. It gives you a chance to print your unofficial transcript, meaning a list of all of the classes that you've taken up to this point in time. Should an employer want to see where you are standing, and maybe rather than print a report card, you can simply print your unofficial transcript. Program details tells me where I'm enrolled and what degree I am currently pursuing. It gives me my GPA, my academic advisor, my date that I started, my expected graduation date, and how many credits I've completed. But I've also got this graphic running along the bottom that shows me what my progress is. Notice 21.5 credits completed toward 93 is just a little shy of about a quarter way done. It gives me an opportunity to see a visual reminder of the kind of progress that I'm making toward my degree. I also have a list of the classes that I am currently attending at this point in time, and courses that are not only scheduled or current, but schedules that are classes that are future classes that I will be taking later on in my program. In this way, you can go through and you can see all of the classes that are available to you at any point in time, and all of the classes that you will have to complete in order to move forward with your degree. The account information is a link that allows us to see all of the information about your financial piece toward the school. Tuition that has been charged, tuition that has been paid, grants that have been extended to you and applied toward your balance. All of that information is available right through here. The holds and alerts are part of our message center, which gives you an opportunity to see whether or not you have pieces of your process that need to be taken care of. For instance, anytime a hold is showing up, it will tell you that we cannot release information, such as a transcript, until that hold has been taken care of. In this case, we get some detailed information about what that hold is about. It simply tells you how you need to go about resolving it. Notice right here it says, please contact your financial planner for more information about what is needed. It's just telling us, hey, let's take care of this so that we can get your disbursement taken care of, and you can start having college paid for with those financial aid pieces. You've also got an alert link right here that would tell us whether or not you've got other pieces going on. And you've got an immediate contact link where you can send an email to your advisors, whether that's a student advisor or a financial aid advisor. You've got those links allowing you to make those contacts as quickly as possible. The new alerts link will take you to the exact same place. It's just part of the message center. I'm going to go back to the dashboard because it makes it easy to launch some of the rest of these pieces. The Campus Info link takes us to a Canvas Classroom link and a faculty directory that should be updated by your faculty members. The Academics area gives us another place where we can check the degree audit and some other pieces, including a GPA calculator. This has been one of the most interesting pieces. I can turn around and say, okay, if I've got my GPA right now at 2.56, what happens if I get B pluses in both of my classes that I'm currently enrolled for? I hit calculate GPA, and you'll notice that my GPA is now showing a 2.75 and my term GPA at 3.4. Just another nice piece that helps you figure out how you can move forward with your academic progress and track your own academic progress and development. The Resource Center takes us to the Shark, has a link to take us to the Shark environment. So those of you who are using that, that's where you'd want to go from there. The My Profile gives you a place where you can change passwords. You can access the Message Center from there as well. You can also go to the My Information area and add additional addresses. For instance, if you had an emergency contact you wanted to add, you could do that through the address environment. However, one of the most important things that we want you to do is take some time and go in and register for SMS messaging or text messaging in conjunction with the system. What this will allow us to do is to send you a text every time a change is made in the account or every time something is added to your portal so that you know to go and look for that information. Simply click the edit and the SMS messaging as I've done here. Click this little box that says yes, say accept, and type in your mobile phone number, and you are off and running to be able to receive text messages on your phone that will tell you all about changes or information that's been attached to your campus, your student information portal. The My Finances tab simply gives us another link for the account information. The Financial Aid gives you an opportunity to see what your reward letter status is, whether or not your financial aid packaging is complete. It also gives you a link to different federal websites, including the FAFSA, and also the entrance exit counseling that is required by law, so that you know where you are standing with all of your financial aid. The My Career piece will eventually be used more aggressively. Currently, there's not a lot sitting in there. And the My Documents is a place where you can upload any documents that are required as part of your as part of your enrollment process. We can tell you what documents we need to see. We can also you can also use this as a place to store those documents should you have questions about them in the future. As you can see, the student portal is a place where you can see a lot of information very easily, information that you used to have to go to a dean or maybe to your student advisor or financial aid advisor to find. A lot of that information you can have right at your fingertips. So take some time over the next couple of days, explore the student portal, make sure you log in, make sure you register for that SMS testing or texting by going to the My Profile and clicking on the My Information area and sign up for that SMS messaging system so that we can make sure we get you that information via your text phone or your phone on a text as quickly as possible whenever we add anything to the student portal. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of an overview of what you're needing to look at and what you should be looking forward to as we roll out the student portal. If you've got questions, you can certainly contact people on your campuses, and I'm sure that they'll be able to help you as well. Thanks for your time, and have a good day.
Okay, so hopefully that helps at least a little bit with all the changes that are going on. I want to show you what Canvas is going to look like. It might be a little bit different for you, but just so that you're not too incredibly worried about the way it's going to work, I want to show you this. So this is basically what the classroom is going to look like. We tried to make it match as closely as possible to the system that we currently have. You can see over here, you have home, announcements, the syllabus, modules, chat, grades, and then tutoring, and then all of the really super important links are right here. You'll have a link right to the live session, and then you have information for, like you can click on here for the textbook, you could click week 1. I'll just open it up so that you can see, although this is a test class, so your class is going to look very different. I'm just showing you my personal test class here so that we could kind of play around with it. And of course, you just click on any and all of these things in here to complete your assignments. Now, what you have to be aware of is we are all going through these changes with you, every single one of us at the school. So please bear with us. Please be patient. It's not like we have had access to this for a very long time and are just springing it on you at the last minute. In fact, most of these changes I don't think are going to be as big of a deal to you, because this looks, you can probably figure out where to go for week 1. For the instructor side, we have quite a bit more that we have to do to get things where they're supposed to be. The system is rather different. But I ask that you take this transition with an open mind, and that you, oh, now I'm not sure if this worked, but well, hopefully you can still see it on the recording. But take these changes with an open mind, and if you have questions, please, as always, reach out to someone and ask. We're around, and we're going through the same issues that you might be as well. All right, so, okay, we finished that. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the guts that you need for this week. One of the things that I want to talk to you about is the past basically happening. Like, the past is now. We make history every second, and what was now is history before it is even over, really. And what I mean by that is, I just finished a sentence. It's over. It is now history. Even something that you think you are actively doing right now, as soon as you're done doing it, now it's history. And it usually takes a little while before we fully understand what the implications of that history are. Um, recently, if you've been paying attention to the news, there have been some questions about Dick Cheney and Iraq and all the things that they were doing during the Bush administration, and how those actions have impacts that we're dealing with today. And that's really how history works, right? You do one little thing here and it makes all the difference later on. This happens in our lives on big levels and small levels all the time. You show up at a grocery store, just right place, right time, and you can meet an old friend that you hadn't seen in a while. Wrong place, wrong time, and you end up in a car accident. We have little things that happen to our lives that, I apologize for the phone ringing back there, but little changes all the time that end up making big differences. And that's really all history is in general. This week, we're kind of focusing on globalization and what that is and what that means. And so when people were here yesterday, I was asking them, what do you think globalization really is? And a lot of people mentioned various things like, oh, maybe it's being able to trade with the world, which is certainly, that definitely makes the world a smaller place. We have access to goods and services that we didn't really have not that long ago. But we can also communicate and be friends with people all over the world that we've never even met before. You can take online class from anywhere in the world, and yet here we are sharing the same online computerized space. We have things like Facebook and Skype and Instagram and Twitter, which give us instant access to other places, times, people, and information. And kind of one of the scary things about these, I don't know if you guys heard about um, the KFC little girl hoax that just happened a couple of days ago, really. Um, Someone was claiming that a little girl who had been mauled by a dog was refused service at a KFC in Mississippi, that the workers there had said she was scaring other customers and that they'd asked her to leave. And of course, this is a public relations nightmare for KFC. People were getting very upset. Someone for the family started a GoFundMe account where strangers or your friends can donate money to whatever your cause is. And they raised a ridiculous amount of money, in a very short amount of time. And turns out a couple days later, once some more information could be dug, once you can actually talk to the people who were there, that probably isn't what happened. But because we live in such a fast-paced world, we really end up with a lot of inaccurate and incorrect information right at the beginning. So might seem like we have like a much better way of getting information, but that information now has no filter. Anyone can be a news reporter, and anyone can spread misinformation very quickly before the correct information can really be fixed and discussed. It's now coming out that it was probably a lie, that KFC did not refuse her service. And yet the $150,000 or whatever it is that the outrage has raised for this little girl, um, that's already been raised, which of course, a poor little girl that has been mauled by pit bulls probably should have a chance at looking normal at some point. But who started the lie and why is a different story. But we live in this time of we all want information now, and it makes it worse, better and worse, of course, that we have Wikipedia and the internet right from our phones. So you have such easy access to information, but also with things like Twitter and Facebook, a really easy way to spread misinformation on things. Um, we also have situations where everyone can be a news reporter. So we have the good and the bad with this very quick access to information. If you remember the Osama bin Laden raid from a few years ago, you have this Twitter user that you can hopefully see here. Um, and he managed to live blog about the raid, but he didn't know what was going on. So it's a really interesting kind of twist on news and history because he's telling us about it. So you see this first tweet here, helicopter hovering above Abbottabad at 1 a.m. is a rare event. And you'll see that that's 1 p.m. wherever this screencast was taken from. And but it's 1 a.m. where he is. And then a few minutes later, he tweets, "Go away, helicopter, before I take out my giant swatter." And then a few minutes later, a huge window shaking bang here in Abbottabad can't. I hope it's not the start of something nasty. And then this funny worried face. Then they start talking, maybe it's Taliban, maybe it's helicopters, what, you can kind of tell the confusion because, again, they don't know what's going on. They're just doing what many of us do, which is go up to Twitter or Facebook and say, wow, I'm having a really great day, or it sure is raining here, or whatever it is that you post on your Facebook or Twitter. And several hours later, then you get, oh, uh-oh, now I'm the guy who live blogged the Osama raid without knowing it. And yet we got first person accounts of what's going on in the area without having to send someone from CNN there, which of course we couldn't have sent someone from CNN because it was a quiet, covert operation. So the question really is, how did we get here? What has happened to us to bring us to this moment of instant information, whether or not it's accurate? So if you recall from week 3, after World War I, things were good for a little while, and then we went into a depression, which was most unfortunate, with FDR leading the way and all those programs to try to kind of bring us up out of the economic problems with the Great Depression. And then we got into World War II. Now, we were trying really hard not to be involved in World War II. Much like World War I, we were more than happy to let all of Europe blow each other to smithereens. However, um, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. And when that happened, it's a little bit more difficult to let all of Europe and Asia fight amongst themselves when they bring the fight to American soil. At the time, actually, Hawaii was not a state, but it was a military establishment. So, um, they were attacking Americans, and then it became a lot harder to ignore them. But also, very much like last week where I was showing you the poster on war bonds, you start seeing posters like this up all over the place. Tokyo kids say much waste of material makes so happy, thank you. And like this one over here, Tokyo kids say driving like sap, helping for Jap, thank you. So not really the nicest posters ever. You can see this guy is a caricature of a Japanese person, and he's got the uh, Japanese rising sun on his head. He's got these devil ears, hair, these pointy teeth. He's drooling. He's got a knife that's dripping blood. I mean, these are not really great caricatures of the Japanese. You have America in the European theater. Now, the first place that we helped really invade, I don't know if you have seen, what is it, Saving Private Ryan, where they go to the invasion of Normandy at D-Day. That occurs in France, and that is one of the questions that is on your exam. So please take note of that and make sure that you are aware that that takes place in France. Now, we had a little bit of a discussion yesterday about what people knew about the Holocaust. Most people know something about it. It was really a state-sponsored genocide, which is different than just individuals deciding to take things into their own hands. It was state-sponsored and systematic. And what systematic means is it runs kind of like a machine. Once it really got into the swing of things, it was, okay, we round up the people like this. Then we move them over here like this. Then we bring them over here like this. Then once they get there, it was all very step by step. They actually had really good record keeping. And on your exam, it does ask you um, the main targeted group, which Jews were the main targets. So make sure that you write that down and that you know that. There were many other groups, though, that were also involved. It's just that Jews were the main target. Hitler at this time had basically decided that you were either German or you weren't, and that you couldn't be German and Jewish. You could only be German. And that there was no such thing as a German Jew, which is kind of ridiculous because Judaism is a religion and people of all religious faiths come from all sorts of different countries. So you can actually be Jewish and American. They're not mutually exclusive. But Hitler was very afraid of anyone who didn't kind of conform to his ideals. We talked also a little bit yesterday. The thing is, when you deal with something like the Holocaust and you try to make sense of it, it just doesn't make sense. And you kind of have to get to a point where you just say, this just doesn't make sense. It's not rational. There's no logic to it, except when the end of World War I really set up Germany to never be another world power. And Hitler came himself to power telling the German people that they needed to show the world that Germany was a world power. So they weren't supposed to be, but here's Hitler who's trying to get everyone to be the best that they can be, and he really convinces the entire country that he's right. Now, not that everyone agreed on every single level, but you can have a moment where you stop and think, okay, who's responsible for the Holocaust? Who can we blame? We always try to how do we get justice for this? And of course, many people say, well, Hitler's to blame. Well, of course Hitler's to blame. At the same time, how many people did Hitler actually kill? Just himself. There's no evidence that he actually killed anyone, and yet 6 million Jews were murdered and about 5 million other people were murdered. So if Hitler didn't kill anyone besides himself, someone has to be involved in that. So we're going to watch this video really quickly, and I'm going to be quiet while we do. Hopefully it works here. Okay.
Oh, I do believe in all the things you say. What comes is better than what came before. And you better come to me. Better come to me. Better run to me. Better come. Oh, I do believe in all the things you say. What comes is better than what came before. And you better run to me. Better run to me. Better come to me. Better run.
Okay, so of course there's a lot of really heart-wrenching and horrible photos on there, but there's also a lot of photos of people smiling, despite everything that people went through and all the horrible things that happened. Um, in the end, the human spirit is really quite amazing. There were very few people that committed suicide during the Holocaust, even though, of course, they're living in deplorable, horrible conditions. People are dying all around them. They're being worked until they die. But there's always this hope that it's going to be better. And humans generally keep that. And if not hope that it will be better, then at least hope that they'll get through it. Which is just, I think, an amazing comment on the human spirit in general. But it also brings us back to the question of then who's responsible for that? Um, Obviously, maybe if you're the one of the people who are directly murdering people, then you could be held responsible. Um, at the same time, what about all the people that stood by and said nothing? Um, Hitler can only do so much by himself. He needs other people who agree with him. And there were obviously not very many people at the beginning that disagreed with him enough to stop him. In fact, the entire world pretty much didn't take him very seriously. And that's how he was able to get away with so much so quickly because, he invaded Poland. That's how he started World War II. So he invaded Poland, and everyone said, okay, but he said he's going to stop now, and so he will. And of course, he didn't stop with just invading Poland. It kept going. There were more bad things that he did, and they would have meetings with him, and he would, oh, okay, no, 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 I'm not going to do anything else. And a couple days later, a couple weeks later, of course, more and more and more and more and more. And I don't know how long we would have gone if the Japanese wouldn't have bombed Pearl Harbor. And I think to this day, this country has kind of a bit of guilt about that. And we don't really know how to overcome that look at what happened. We tried to ignore this, and millions of people died. And so we get involved in conflicts today that a lot of people say, this isn't our place, we shouldn't be doing this. Well, that might be true, but also look what happens when we don't always get involved and we try to say, this isn't our problem, someone else needs to deal with this. Then you end up with things like the Holocaust. So we're still treading this line. And as a country, I think we're still trying to figure out where we belong in terms of letting other countries, run their country and deal with their own issues. And at the same time, trying to protect basically the entire world from horrible, bad leaders that do horrible, bad things. So that's what Hitler was doing in Germany. In the United States, I don't know how many of you knew this, but in the United States, not all that different. Um, Obviously, no, we weren't murdering millions of people, but we did what is called internment to Japanese citizens. Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, and every single Japanese person in America became the enemy. We were so worried that they were going to call home or somehow call the emperor and give secrets and be spies that we took them all away from their homes, not unlike the Germans did in the Holocaust, made them, you can see they're all at this bus station, with a Greyhound station, no less, with all of their belongings, whatever they could carry, and that's it. So if they had a family business, it's not the family business anymore. If they had a house, it's not their house anymore. They were all rounded up. They were kept in general with their families. They were in general kept together, not always. But they were put into remote areas called relocation centers. Relocating from where to where is still a mystery to most people. It sounds better, right? A relocation center. It sounds better than concentration camp, I suppose. Um, but kind of eerily similar in that no one really objected to this. In fact, a lot of businessmen took advantage of the fact that the Japanese people were going to be forced from their homes, and they either bought the businesses for incredibly cheap or nothing at all. They just moved in. Um, they would, there's stories of um, non-Japanese people going to the Japanese area of town and just ransacking it, graffiti on the walls, breaking windows, a lot of anti-Japanese sentiment against everyone of Japanese descent, which is not that different to what was going on in parts of Germany, where all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but you have people who, if when the government says, okay, this is the enemy, the people of that government tend to agree rather quickly. So when the German government says the Jews are the enemy, they're then persecuted and rounded up. Here you have the American government saying the Japanese are the enemy, and it's not just the Japanese across the ocean, it's the Japanese that are in our own country, and so they were rounded up. You can see photos like this. Now, obviously, this is not too similar to the ones that you just saw in that quick movie, but they are barbed wire. They're not allowed to leave. There's an armed guard on duty making sure they're not going anywhere. But they do have shoes. They do have their clothes. They were fed, not very well. They were fed, but they weren't systematically murdered. And at the end of the war, when the Japanese were no longer a threat, everyone said, okay, you can go home now. But where do they go? They don't have a house anymore. They don't really have a business anymore. And yet, the Japanese American community bounced back rather quickly. I'm not saying that it was easy for them, but just that that not American spirit, well, the American spirit too, but that human spirit of we will figure this out and we'll be okay in the end. So during World War I, for the fighting of World War I, now this is one of the questions that's going to show up on your exam. You know this because it's in red. Computers in World War I, now very primitive ones, not the same ones that I'm talking to you on right now or ones that you type your computer on. They're kind of like expensive calculators almost. They help to decode German codes. They were deciphering German codes as kind of a way to spy on them without them knowing. And then there was, of course, a lot of fighting. At the end of World War I, there was this conference at Yalta. Okay, and at that conference, many of the major world powers got together, and they basically started the United Nations. And the whole purpose of the United Nations is um, to keep world peace. Now, what's funny, not funny, haha, but strange about that is Russia is on the Security Council. So is the United States. So we're part of this main block of nations that are supposed to keep the world at peace. And yet Russia is kind of doing some naughty things over in the Ukraine right now. But because they're on the Security Council, it's making it hard to punish Putin because they're like at least punish him in terms of the United Nations because they're all but they're all supposed to be buddy buddies in the United Nations. So at the time it seemed kind of like a good idea that there should be this world council to keep world peace. And of course, that is a good idea. But even at the time, Stalin was Stalin was in charge of Russia. He was a pretty bad guy too. And now we have Putin in charge also. Kind of a bad idea. So what we're going to start doing now is the next one is Truman, was he an expert in international affairs? And so what I want to show you here And hopefully this showed up for you in the screen. I want to show you when you're dealing with especially one of the multiple choice questions on the final. I want to review this search function here. So if you click on search, it defaults to searching this chapter. Let me make sure. Hold on 1 second here. Okay, so it defaults once you enter the ebook, it looks like this, and you want to click on search, and that looks like this, and it's going to default to this chapter. But you really want to search all results, and we want to search for Truman and international. We'll see where those two words meet if they do. Okay, so now you can see that this popped up, at least hopefully you can see that this popped up. Let's see. And actually, hold on. Okay, so it's showing up all together. Sorry, I'm trying to use two different systems all at once. So if I type in Truman and International, you'll see the list of results here. So if we read the first one, capture Philippines, 1945, Roosevelt dies, Truman becomes president, Germany surrenders. Okay, interesting. Then next is Soviet duplicity and expansionism created international tensions. And then the next one is Truman had almost no familiarity with international issues. Well, let's click on that. And you'll see in the background, it's going to take us to the part of the textbook that answers that question. So you can X this out, which will bring up the whole textbook again, and you'll see that, hey man, on page 645, the new president, Harry S. Truman, had almost no familiarity with international issues, nor did he share Roosevelt's apparent faith in Soviet flexibility. Oh, well, that answers the question on the exam. Okay, well, now I know how to answer that question on the exam. Then you move on to the next question. So you go back to the search. In the event you don't already know the answer, you go back to the search. Let's go back here for a minute. So was Truman an expert? The answer to that is no. So the next question asks about communist expansion and the containment doctrine. So then we can go back. We can go back here to the textbook. Clickety, clickety. Okay, we can go back to the textbook and we can type in containment doctrine. I'm just going to type in containment. We'll see what comes up. So you can see, oh, containment, containment, containment. Now I am going to put in doctrine. I spelt it wrong. There. All right, so now we can see the doctrine. So the divided world with strong pro-American sphere of influence, the containment doctrine. Let's see, so we're just going to click on that. Oh, look, we have lots of the word containment. So let's close, or you can use this little arrow, I think, to minimize it. And now it's even highlighting all the places in the textbook with the word containment. So you can search through here rather quickly to find any answers that you might be stuck on for the exam. Okay, and then you'll see that they were trying to contain and what they were trying to contain. All right, so now we're back here. And you can tell, well, you should be able to tell from the slide in general, but you have all of these countries in red are communist, and all of these countries in blue are democratic, and you have Germany after World War II was actually divided in two in hopes that it would weaken them. This is not really on your exam, so we're just going to kind of skip it for a minute. On your exam, you do need to know, I don't know why these are not in red, I need to fix that. You do need to know about the Voting Rights Act of 1964, and you need to know about affirmative action. So again, if you want kind of a shortcut for the course readings, you can go into the search function in the textbook and search for the Voting Rights Act of 1964 and affirmative action. Makes searching for those things a little bit easier. There are 2 essay questions. You need to answer both of them. These 2 questions combined are 1/3 of your total grade. That's a lot. Okay, so these are the 2 essay questions. One is on the impact of immigrants on the Industrial Revolution. So you're going to write 2 to 3 paragraphs discussing immigrants and the Industrial Revolution and how immigrants impacted the Industrial Revolution. If you only write a sentence or 2, you're not going to love your grade. I'm looking for 2 to 3 full paragraphs. Same thing here on the civil rights movement. Who is important and how does the movement impact your life? You need to make sure that you're answering all of those questions to the best of your ability, of course, in 2 to 3 paragraphs. So those are the big essay questions. I'm giving them to you ahead of time. I don't want them to be scary or confusing or any of the above. I really want you to I really want you guys to succeed and do well on this final. So that's why I'm giving you the essay questions ahead of time. Do some research, write some notes. You don't need to spend hours and hours on this. The exam is designed to be taken all in one sitting in 3 hours. That's the maximum amount of time that you have to spend on it. So don't spend too much more than that. I'm not looking for perfection here. I'm just looking to make sure that you understand some big concepts from the course. Here are my main tips for the final. The first one is to start at the end. The reason for that is that's where the big points are. There aren't that many questions, but it's the final 2 questions that are worth 60 points altogether. So the whole final is worth 180, and the last 2 essay questions are worth 60 points. That's kind of a big chunk. I would take good notes on the sections discussed. I'm going to show you those sections in just a minute. And be careful of the fill in the blanks. Make sure that you're putting in the correct answer. Be careful. Some countries have changed names over time. I don't want their name now because it's completely different now. Everything is completely different now. I want the name as it was at the time. Here's the test structure. You have 20 multiple choice and true or false questions that are worth 20 points each. You have 10 short answer questions that are worth 10 points each. So you have 100 points in short answer, and by short answer, it's 1 or 2 words. Again, if you're stuck or confused or you want to rip your hair out, just go to the textbook and do a search for the keywords. And then the 2 essay questions, 30 points each, 2 to 3 minimum paragraphs. These are basically the questions that are going to show up on your final, the main things that you need to be aware of. This is asking you in terms of the revolution, which country helped the United States the most? For the Boston Massacre, how did it start? You need to know some general information about the Boston Tea Party. Taverns, why were they important? The Continental Congress, what were they preparing for? Also, for the Industrial Revolution, you need to know about the canal system, Morse code, Hawaii, and how it was annexed. Remember, it still was not even a state when Japan bombed it. You need to know in general about the Great Depression. For the Great Depression, you're going to want to know the causes of it, and be able to describe what happened in the stock market crash. If you recall from that lecture, there were a couple of main things that are also heavily, heavily discussed in your textbook. Are you noticing a theme about the textbook? Use your textbook to answer the questions on the final, and if you can't, you don't have to reread every single word. Use that search function. And a little bit about the Dust Bowl, but eensy weensy on the Dust Bowl. And then you're going to want to know, in general, what FDR's New Deal programs were for and kind of why they were started to begin with. I do want to show you here. Let me show you this really quick. I am putting up this particular PowerPoint in the document sharing part of the class. So let me show you that. Okay, so here's, all I did was click on doc sharing up here at the top. When you do that, it opens up this window and you'll see that I put week 4 PowerPoint new 220. That's the title of it from my computer. And it's shared with the entire class. And all you have to do is click on that, and it will ask you if you want to open it or save it. And it is for you to use as much as necessary on this final exam. So hopefully that really helps you review and kind of wrap up. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, or you just kind of like are trying really hard not to rip your hair out, hopefully that gives you some help. As I'm just going to go through those reminders also one more time from the beginning. So just one more time reminding you, final exams are not graded right away. Oh, I have to add one more. So it's a good thing I did this. Final exams are not graded right away. So it's going to give you a low score. Please don't worry about it. Everything will be graded by Monday at midnight. I'm still grading other late work that's being submitted. If you have a discussion that has not been graded, please send me an email to have me look at it. It doesn't tell me right away when there's a new discussion that hasn't been graded. If you're missing work, it must be received by Thursday. This session is going to be available, I hope, please, in the classroom on it'll just be available slightly differently. The other sessions are going to clear out on Wednesday at midnight, and you need to sign into your student portal. If you do not sign up, go log in. You've received several emails about this. If you don't, you will not be assigned a course for next mod. You also need to be aware that the class is unavailable from 1 a.m. on Saturday to 11 a.m. These are Mountain Time. So when you go to take your exam, it's always something, right? So when you take your exam, take it as early as you can, because something always happens. There's some emergency, there's some internet problem, whatever it may be. Something is always happens crazy, so don't wait until the last minute. If you're gonna wait until Saturday, the class is unavailable from 1 a.m. until 11 a.m. Mountain Time on the last day of class. So be mindful when you are doing your, when you're just kind of prepping out your time, be aware of that so that you're not running yourself out of time. As always, if you have any questions or concerns or anything, please feel free to give me a call or send me an email. Be sure, please, 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 here's another tip for you. Sometimes if you send me an email from the class and I try to respond to you, those emails are not always accurate. So if you have sent me several emails and I'm not getting back to you, send me a real email from your real email account. So try going out of the classroom and into your Yahoo or Gmail or whatever you usually use, and send me an email from there, just so that it's for certain that I have that address for you. So I hope you guys are doing well. If you have questions, let me know, everyone. Take care.